Aloha! Welcome to Mystic Movement Astrology. I'm your host, Lena Love, and I'm here to navigate the stars with you today with our feet on the ground. Sorry about the sound. I forgot my adapter, so I'm going to try to speak loudly. I am at the beach right now. Beautiful day here in Hawaii. This is the east side, Sherwood's Forest, my favorite beach here. Just like enjoying the beautiful nature vibes, wanting to connect with the ocean on this full moon in Cancer. Whew. So as you know, Cancer has to do with the ocean, it has to do with family, it has to do with our inner child, with self-care, with self-love. Cancer is the crab in the zodiac, so the symbology of Cancer is really that tender, soft interior and kind of that more rough exterior of self-protection. So at the full moon, we can be feeling a little bit more raw and tender than we normally do when it's in Cancer, and we can be feeling that need to really go within and to kind of put up our boundaries and protect our vulnerability. So if you're feeling that right now, that's totally understandable. Water is a wonderful way to work with the emotional energy that comes up at this time. So getting in the ocean, river, if it's winter where you are, just taking a hot shower or a bath, all of these things are going to really help to move some of that emotional energy. And what was really coming through today as I was reflecting on this full moon energy is this idea of self-love and resilience and our ability to grow, right? Because vulnerability means the capacity to be wounded. So really, to the extent that we have the capacity to allow ourselves to be wounded directly relates to our growth. The crab has to leave its shell in order for the soft body to grow larger so that it can inhabit a new shell. So at this time we might feel as though we're needing to leave some of those old patterns, those old habits, those old beliefs, thoughts, structures. This is a Capricorn Cancer axis, so it relates to structures in our life that directly affect our emotional world. So it's about kind of stepping out of that and stepping into a new space that's going to serve our growth. And part of that is an uncomfortable process of shedding and of really feeling into those wounded areas so that we can grow and expand in new ways. So we have to feel it to heal it. Some friends walking by. Also been kind of checking out the birds and the wildlife. Oh, there's a kitty coming this way. I hope it comes here. Come here, kitty. Anyway, I won't get too distracted. We do have Mars and Gemini retrograde, so you might be feeling a little bit like, woo, all over the place. But yeah, really back to this full moon energy, which I think is really salient right now, and the topic that I really want to just sink into is, in psychology we're talking about how our thoughts affect our feelings typically. And I think it goes both ways. Thoughts affect feelings and feelings affect thoughts, and it's kind of this mutual feedback loop that happens. And then from there, our feelings create our actions, and our actions and the results that they manifest create our beliefs. So I see all of this dance going on, and then when we have beliefs and the beliefs have become solidified, then they inform our thoughts and our feelings and our actions again. And so we get more cemented into these patterns. And that's when our attitudes really do become self-fulfilling prophecy. And we become the creators of our own destiny. And so what I think is really powerful about this time is when we think about changing any one of these pieces on this cycle, the thought, the feeling, the action, the belief. If we start with belief, it's like we really have to exert a lot of energy. It's like we're swimming upstream to try to change at the belief level immediately. Same thing with the actions. It's like a lot of efforting. Same thing with the thoughts. It's like, okay, I have to be mindful of my thoughts and, watch my thoughts all the time. But the feelings, Cancer represents our feeling. Feelings are the most malleable, it really is like water. So how do we affect our feelings? We change our state. What can you do that can change your state and give you an immediate feedback of a new feeling, a new sensation, a new emotion that can then create a new thought, that can then create a more positive action, that can then create a more fulfilling belief, or a more self-serving belief, a more empowering belief. And so from there, it's like we can create this new life, like we can create this new structure that actually is serving us. And it all begins with the feeling, it all begins with what state we're in. So if we're taking the same actions, if we're involved in the same habits that are linked to these actions, thoughts, beliefs that are keeping us stuck in this old paradigm, it's going to be really hard to shift. But if we just change a little bit our habits, if we, really dive into that yoga practice, dive into that 10 minutes of breath work in the morning, really take the time to just mindfully rest in the middle of your day and put your phone aside and just allow your eyes to drink in your surroundings, or just whatever it is that you can think to be inspired to make a change in your routine. Because Cancer, the shadow of Cancers kind of get like really ingrained in your comfort zone, and you feel safe there. And the irony of feeling safe is it's kind of an illusion, because you'll feel safe, but what you're really protecting yourself from is growth and expansion and joy and success. So it's almost like this need to feel safe in the comfort and the known is actually what sabotages our success and growth. So even though it's a full moon in Cancer, and yes, it is about resting, it is about nurturing and self-love, this is also a time where we can really use that feeling heart and that sensitivity of Cancer to really dive into ourselves and explore, how can we meet these feelings with awareness and with love, and dissolve them into a greater whole from which we can extract new possibilities, new possible feelings. So yeah, lastly I will say that, as I really want to keep this a little bit more brief than my other reports, I know I haven't done one in a while, but yeah, I was reflecting on this whole phenomenon of self-love, and it's kind of very overdone, it seems. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I've heard that. Thank you. Thanks again for telling me I have to love myself. Great. Okay. How do I do that? But I think that it's really about abiding in your inner essence and worth and soul, no matter what, because if your self-love is dependent on, there's like a really cute dog here and I'm distracted. Hi, puppy. Oh, it's okay. Because if your self-love is dependent upon your approving of your behavior, then that means that your self-love is going to depend upon your doing this or that right, and therefore it's going to set up this other opposite, equal and opposite paradigm of I hate myself because I didn't do this or that. I love myself because I do this or that, because I look this or that way. I hate myself because I don't look this or that way, or because I didn't do this or that. So it's the difference between your own innate inherent worth as a soul, as a being, as your inner child, which is always innocent and always worthy of love. And then that part of you that is constantly changing, that is constantly dynamic, that sometimes pulls through and sometimes doesn't, that behavior that's inconsistent. It's like we cannot make it about merit. Self-love isn't about merit. It isn't about earning it. It isn't about deserving it. It's that innate worthiness. You are worthy because you are a child of Goddess. Like, you are a part of this universe. You are a universe within yourself. So it's interesting because then when we really begin to integrate that relationship to ourselves, then when we do things that are off course with our vision for ourselves, we can really just allow that to dissolve within our gaze of love for ourselves. Like, oh, okay, wow, I slept in and I missed that meeting. Okay, yeah, there are some things objectively I could probably address in my life that would remedy this situation, but I'm not gonna make this about my inner worth. I'm not going to punish myself or withhold self-love because my behavior was not in alignment with my ideals. Makes sense? So yeah, the more that we are rooted in that self-love unconditionally within ourselves, the more receptive we are to objective criticism and feedback from ourselves and from others in our lives. So this full moon in Cancer energy is really about going into those feelings, taking care in whatever way we can, nurturing ourselves, resting, and just creating that space for those feelings to come up without attachment, without putting a label of right or wrong on them. Just witnessing that everything is what it is in the moment that it is, and everything is constantly in motion, changing, dynamic, like the stars above, so below here on Earth. And this card came through for the reading today. This is Nana Buluku. She is the African mother goddess of the universe. And it says she rests to create. So it's this idea that we can create the life that we want from this restful state of manifesting. Because when the water is all agitated and stirred up because of all of this emotional and thought energy, it's very difficult to see clearly through that water, to see clearly our reflection. And when the water is given time to just settle and be still, we can see clearly. We can see clearly through, we can see clearly our reflection. So we can really use that wisdom this time to trust that we can rest, we can take time, even though we have a to-do list with a million things to do, and we have all of these New Year's resolutions to accomplish and whatnot, that we can be gentle with ourselves. And sometimes the more that we rest and the more that we give ourselves space, not sometimes, all the time, all the time that we do that, we engage our activity with more presence and with more productivity, because we're fully in alignment with the direction that we want to take. And that is really in alignment with our North Node in Taurus and needing to move into more self-sufficiency and devise new ways to support ourselves And I think that this is really setting us up for a new paradigm where we will have to rely more on our own enterprising efforts and less upon the systems of power, corporate, or whatnot that governmental that support us. So I hope that this information serves you today at this full moon in Cancer. I'm glad to be back. I really hope to keep doing the new moon and full moon reports for 2023, and I'm additionally thinking about or intending to transition into shorter little psychologically informed updates throughout the month as well. So if you have any questions, any feedback, please share it in the comments below. I always love to hear from you. I make these videos because it's fun for me, and also because I know that there are a few of you out there watching, and let me know what you like or what you'd like to hear more of, and I will take that feedback and work with it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Aloha. Enjoy this full moon. Namaste.